Well, it's great to see so many Penn Staters joining us, and we'll get started here in just about a minute. Well, good afternoon, Penn Staters, and thank you for joining us. I'm Tom Hammond, Executive Director of Engagement at the Penn State Alumni Association, and I'd like to welcome everybody to today's virtual session, which is being recorded. Live closed captions are available for this event, and you can access them by clicking the closed caption button at the bottom of the Zoom video window and then clicking Show Subtitle. You may also customize your caption view by clicking the stream text link posted in the chat. We are live streaming today's presentations, and this live stream has been made possible through the gracious support of a donor and the Fund for Access, Ideas, and Audacious Goals. Today's presentation will be archived and available on our website after the event. This afternoon, we welcome George Daniel, lead instructor and director of the Penn State Angling Program. George will discuss the past, present, and future of fly fishing education at the university. The program, through various courses, introduces and offers advanced instruction to Penn State students in a sport that for many has become a lifelong recreational activity. We'll provide some highlights of the history of the program, discuss the current status of fly fishing at Penn State, and share his long-term goals for the future of the program. In addition to today's discussion, our presenter will host a fly fishing trip in Northern Canada from August 8th through the 13th in 2022. More information will soon be available at alumni.psu.edu/travel. If you want to get yourself to the top of that list for information, you can email my colleague, Kelly Morganti, and we'll put her email in the chat box as well so you can reach out to her directly. It all began at age 6 when George Daniel caught his first trout on a fly rod. Since that day, he's been addicted to fly fishing. Daniel was a former competitive angler for Fly Fishing Team USA and former coach for both USA Youth and adult fly fishing teams. He has written 3 books and published countless articles for fly fishing magazines. Currently, Daniel is director and lead instructor for Penn State's Angling Program, a position once held by his fly fishing mentor, Joe Humphreys. Daniel is also an on-stream instructor on his home waters and runs clinics and presentations throughout the United States. So, George, thank you for joining us, and I'm going to hand it over to you.
Thank you, Tom. Thanks for having me, and thanks for everyone coming out here this afternoon to listen a little bit about the angling program. This is something I'm incredibly excited and honored to be part of. So what I'm going to do here, if you just bear with me, is just share my screen here, and we'll get right into the program. We're going to keep this really nice, clean, and concise, but one of the cool things about Penn State, we do have an amazing history as it relates to fly fishing. When people think about Penn State, there's a lot of things that come to mind. We think about the football, the wrestling, we think about agriculture, engineering schools. But in my small circle that I call fly fishing in my industry, and basically what my life has been the last 20 years, a lot of times when we talk about Penn State, we talk about Fly Fishing University because we were and still have one of the most prized programs out there in the country as it relates to fly fishing. We were the first only school in the country to have a accredited fly fishing course. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the history of this, and we'll go from there. So, Tom had already talked about it, but in short, a little bit about me is I'm just a trout bum. All you really need to know about me is when I was age 14, I picked up a book called Trout Tactics by Joe Humphreys. And when I read about Joe and his mentor, George Harvey, about teaching at Penn State, I mean, even at age 14, I know I had kind of a very narrow mind at that point, but I thought, what an amazing opportunity to be able to actually teach collegiately fly fishing. So for the last 20 years, my life has been kind of just geared towards trying to get myself in the position where I could actually be doing the same role that my mentor and his mentor before him was. So it is just an absolute honor and a pleasure to be part of this Penn State program. So I can't say in words more than enough how excited I am to be here. But also, I'm a husband and a father, and I love to teach as much as I like to fish. One of the things I take great enjoyment in is actually teaching the next generation. And that's what this is all about. That's what this class is about, is actually creating future anglers and by extension, future stewards of our resources. Uh, for those who don't know much about the angling program, in short, how the angling program came to be was a guy named George Harvey in the 1930s was a student here at Penn State. And during his freshman orientation, the dean of the school came in to do a little talk about expectations. And also during that talk, the dean was talking to the group of students saying at some point, your focus is on education, but at some point you're going to need some sort of activity, hobby to kind of decompress and kind of rejuvenate yourself. And the dean went on and talked about how fishing was his passion. And he said, incidentally, the next day or this coming weekend was going to be the opening day of trout season in Pennsylvania. And he was going to be fishing. And if anyone on campus wanted a ride to Spring Creek, the local water, he would gladly take the students to the stream to fish. And George wasn't bashful. Right after the dean was done talking, he said, "Dean, would you mind taking me to the stream?" So you fast forward a week, uh, the dean picks up George and they take him to the stream. And the dean at that point had worms and just bait. And he saw George when they were getting ready to separate, that George had fly fishing gear. And the dean went to George and said, "Son, like this is opening day. This is April. Like flies aren't going to be working this time of the year. I really recommend you use bait." And George just said, "Dean, this is all I have, but I'll make the best of it." So they separate. And a couple hours later, they meet up. The dean goes to George and says, "Well, I caught a couple fish. How did you do, George?" And George basically out of his creel produced one of the best limits of fish that the dean had ever seen in his entire life. And he was just so kind of just taken back. He actually asked George, he said, "I really want to learn this based on what I've been seeing and how you're catching fish. Would you teach me? And if I was to gather some students from the college and then also people from the town, would you teach a course?" And George gladly did so. And the whole reason why the fly fishing program was created was because the dean himself wanted to learn to fish just based on the results. And from that first class was taught in 1934 by George Harvey. And later on, it became a accredited course in 1947. But we have the first accredited fly fishing course in the nation and possibly maybe even in the world. But that's how this program came to be. So a guy named George Harvey, who's considered the dean of American fly fishing, took on and created this program. And then since that time, there's been just many countless anglers and instructors that have done that course really well. After George, Joe Humphreys, my mentor, took after George after George's retirement in 1972, I believe. And then he took that program to 1988. And since that time, there's been a great crew of anglers, including Vance McCullough, Mark Belden, Steve Sawinski, Greg Hoover, just to name a few. And luckily, I'm in position right now to be part of this for the time being. So it's a great honor. What PSU fly fishing looks like today. I'm in the kinesiology department and the classes I teach are KPAC. So basically it's called kinesiology physical activity program. So what this is, it's a gym credit essentially. And even though this is a physical activity, what we do in fly fishing is so much more than just an activity. What we are doing is we are teaching a number of skill sets here I'm going to go into, but this is more than just catching fish. This is about learning about environment, stewardship, about local communities. This is about just being part of something larger than yourself. And right now we have 3 classes that we can teach or have the opportunity to teach right now within the kinesiology department. We have a Kines 04, which is basically the principles. It's an introduction level fly fishing course, fly fishing, fly tying. I'll talk a little bit more about that here in a moment. And then that is a prerequisite for the next class, which is a Kines 93, which we call a mastery of fly fishing and fly tying. And that's just another level up that kind of takes place or takes over from where we left off in the Kines 04 program. And then another really cool program, a guy named Mark Belden, one of the former instructors, one of the things that he spearheaded was this thing with former alum and booster Jesse Arnell. They call it the Arnell Initiative. And what this is, it's a crash course for students who are, you could say, really more urban city dwellers that really have had no experience being outside in nature, where we bring these students from the university and we give them basically a 4-week crash course in outdoors, fly fishing, fly tying, fly casting. And what's cool about this is the students from the Knies 93 class act as mentors to these kids in this Jesse Arnell initiative. And when the last day is all said and done, we take these students to Spruce Creek, which is where former President Jimmy Carter used to fish, and some just well-known folks. But we buy water for the day. We take these kids there. Our Knies 93 students guide these students during the day, and then we have this amazing meal, and it's a great program. So those are the 3 classes or 3 offerings that we currently offer here within the kinesiology department. Now, the other cool thing about fly fishing in the kinesiology department is through donors and then also through the Joe Humphreys Angling Fund, we have our own classroom, and essentially it's like a miniature fly shop. We have, through donations and donors and support in the past, we have some of the best fly tying and fly fishing equipment you can use. So we offer this to the students during the semester, and we have all the tools and gadgets that are currently available, and these kids have access to that during their time here at Penn State. And it's just a really cool little classroom, a miniature fly shop, if you will. But in the course, whether it's the Knies 04, the Knies 93, or even the Arnell Initiative, we kind of stress and strive for teaching some of the core components here. And some of that would include, obviously, the history. You know, one of the things I want all the students to understand is that when you come to Penn State, there is a great rich angling history here at Penn State. And that's something to be really, really proud of. So anytime wherever they travel, you know, if they travel out west or they go internationally, when they fly fish and they find out that they took college credits for class, so many times people will say, oh, you must have went to Penn State, because we just have that connection with the academic side within fly fishing. The other thing we talk about is what makes Central Pennsylvania so great. We have a great school, but incidentally, Penn State is surrounded by some of the best trout fishing in the country. You know, Pennsylvania has more miles, the state of Pennsylvania has more miles of trout water than any other stream in the lower 48. The only state is Alaska. So we have more angling opportunities just within this state alone than you could ever have a lifetime's worth of actually trying to actively go after. So we are just incredibly fortunate to be able to have this class where these kids and our students have access to this, probably one of the best fisheries here, at least in the East Coast. So we explain to them, you know, obviously when you're at Penn State, academics are important, but 2, while you are here, take advantage of like the best fishing opportunities that you could ever come across, because guaranteed there's a percentage, it's a fraction of 1% that actually of waters in the world that actually hold trout. So there's a high likelihood that once you graduate and you move, you're not going to have these same opportunities. Very rarely would you. Other parts of the class is we talk about obviously the ecosystem and the water quality. And one of the things that we explain is that the fish that we're after here in Central PA mostly are all wild fish. These are wild systems that have been able to sustain themselves year after year. And we try to explain to them the importance of what it takes to build these self-sustaining fisheries. It's all about water quality. It's about conservation and so forth. And we try not to preach that too much, but we do stress the importance of what makes our area so great and such a viable resource here in the central part of the state. Yeah, the other thing we discuss is a trout's biology. You know, when you are acting as a predator, like a fly fisher, you have to understand a little bit of your prey, where they sleep, where they hunt, you know, where they feed and so forth. So we talk about things of like water quality. We talk about water temperatures. We talk about air temperatures. We talk about stream validity, or the stream clarity and so forth. So these are just some of the variables, but basically we just talk about trying to understand the trout as a living item, and then how we as anglers or as a predator will use that information to develop a plan of attack, if you will. And the other part of the class is, and probably half the class we do inside, we look at local fisheries, or we look at the local fisheries, we look at the bug life within those fisheries, something we call fly fish food. But I'm going to show you a couple of video clips. But when you were a kid and you pick up like rocks, gravel, whatever it is, and you see all these little insects crawling around, that is a trout's food. I mean, it is like a trout's Trader's Joe's, or the Giant Market or their Wegmans. But when you pick up rocks, when those insects that are crawling, this is what the trout feed on. And different insects live in different water qualities or different water types. And you as an angler, and that's what's so cool about this, this is like a jigsaw puzzle that's always changing. It's always dynamic. And we are trying to figure out that puzzle with what these insects are doing and whether or not the fish are eating them at this particular point. It sounds complicated, but it really is not. Once you talk about a few key points, but it's just, it keeps things really interested. And one of the things that I would say is students are amazed. That's one of the things that the students love the most, is when you pick up rocks and vegetations, all these insects and flies that they've been tying in class, they could get to see like, oh, okay, this is what I'm trying to imitate with this fly that I've been tying in class the last couple of weeks. So it connects the dots before they go fishing, which is a really cool thing to see. And then the last thing is, it's about teaching a lifelong activity. These students, I would say, just looking at the roll call here, I would probably say over 70% of my students this semester are engineers. So I understand the importance of kind of a leisure activity. These kids, and all students for that matter, have a lot of stresses. In fact, I think they probably have more stresses or stress factors going on today than what I did, and probably what a lot of us did when we went to school. And one of the things that I try to explain without going directly, telling them that fly fishing is going to be good for them, because telling them that fly fishing is good for them is like your parents telling you that vegetables are good for you when you eat. But what you do is you show them the excitement, and you show them all these opportunities to fly fish and how to tie flies. And I will say this, of all the activities that we do, fly tying and fly tying is often the most favorite of all our students. And that's because it's one of the things that requires focus. Fly fishing and fly tying, they're not incredibly difficult, but what it requires is focus. And when you have that focus on your fly, when you're tying or when you're casting, everything else that you have thought about, whether it's your work, your homework, your family members, or any other distraction, completely disappears. And you have that what you call being in the zone. And it's an amazing thing that even so many of the students that take this class that may decide they don't even want to fly fish later on, because they're just trying it out, and they may decide that it's not for them. A lot of them continue on tying flies because they find it to be incredibly therapeutic. I have a number of students that will come in before class, and I'll have a number of students that stay after class just because they enjoy tying flies. And it's the one and really only thing so far while they're on campus that they have told me that has completely cleared their mind and just allowed them to kind of relax for a few hours during the stresses of the semester. So it's really a cool thing to see. And a lot of our students, not only are they going to be anglers, but this is a kid named Austin Campbell. He was on the track team last year. Great kid, moved back to Colorado where he's from. He is in business, or he graduated with a degree in business. He's going back into the guiding a little bit this summer, but his whole plan in a couple of years is to build a fishing lodge and offer guiding services. So what's cool about a lot of our students is that they're finding ways to build fly fishing into their future degrees. Even if you're not even going to be a professional fly fisher like Austin plans to be, a lot of my students, they're in business and so forth, are going to try to find ways to use fly fishing as a means for connections with other folks. Again, a pretty cool little thing to see. So the other thing about fly fishing as an activity is, what makes this so exciting? And it's like anything else, it's very moldable. You can do whatever you want with this. And what I mean by that is, with fly fishing, if you just want to drive along a stream and just jump out and just fish the same spots over and over again by yourself, you can do that. If you want to walk up into remote streams up in the Canadian Rockies or the West Coast, you can do that as well. The other thing about trout fishing, and that's the species that we target and we discuss mostly at Penn State because that's where we live, is usually trout live in some of the most beautiful places in the world. So wherever you're after trout, often you're going to encounter some of the most beautiful scenery around. A couple of other things is, as I mentioned before, fly fishing is dynamic. And what I mean by that is when you have trout living in streams, trout are like humans. They change, they have good days, they have bad days. Same thing with streams. You have water, sometimes you have rain, sometimes you have high air temperatures, sometimes you have low air temperatures. But the whole idea is all these variables are always changing. So when you fish a stream one day or a body of water one day, when you go to it the next day, often it's a completely different scenario. So we are just looking at some of these variables and trying to determine our best approach. So it's always changing, it's always evolving. And that's what makes it cool because it's like a puzzle you're trying to figure out. No one day is ever going to be the same. And again, this is it's a lifelong activity. And this is something that when you look at my mentor, Joe Humphreys, he's 93 right now, just incredibly vibrant. George Harvey, who taught the class before him, he lived into his late 90s. So there's definitely a correlation between having a lifelong activity and longevity. And again, that's one of the things that we want our students to do is whether it's fly fishing, if it's yoga, if it's some activity, but whatever it is, they need to find something that is going to allow them to detach from their stresses in their life when they graduate, allow them to recuperate, rejuvenate, and basically reload and basically go back into their job and their life as happy, productive people and members of society. And I think when you have a lifelong activity, that helps a lot of those problems that we see in society kind of fold, if you will. And as we talked about before, this is the appeal. Fly fishing is just amazing. The species that you catch, I love watching the students for the first time. They catch their first fish, whether it's a panfish or a trout. I mean, and they just look at this thing that just is just this beautiful wild fish that has been in this water for thousands and thousands of years, that they fooled with their own fly. They tied for the first time, and they go to these beautiful places. I just got off the water literally maybe 25 minutes ago on Spring Creek. And this was just some of the places that we are able and fortunate enough to do our field trips on. But the kids love it. And again, it's a great, great program for everyone here. And just talking about fly fish food real quick, when you pick up a rock in vegetation, when you talk about what makes our streams here in central Pennsylvania so good, you can just take a look at this. Our streams are just crawling with macroinvertebrates, basically fly fish food, but a variety of types. And these insects live on stream bottom. And a lot of times these insects go through a metamorphosis or incomplete metamorphosis, and they go from a aquatic insect to a winged adult. So a lot of times when you're driving along the stream, you have these insects that you're seeing that are basically, you're getting mad because you're going to need a car wash when you drive through this cloud of insects. But from a fly fishing standpoint, that's exactly what you want to see, because when you see these insects, this is telling you that you are right in the middle of some of the best fishing of the year. And this is what we're encountering right now. So this is really cool. The kids get to see insects that are in the water, and then they get to see this process that occurs, this metamorphosis, this life cycle change. And as a fly fisher, you're just imitating those stages as the fish change according to their feeding. So not getting too geeky into it, but it's really a cool process and a way to navigate fishing. And this is what we call matching the hatch. You find the insects, we'll take a handful of bugs, we'll look at them in our hands, and then we try to build flies that look similar to the ones that we find on the water. And again, this is the most, I guess you could say, this is the most fascinating part of our course to our students is the fly tying. They absolutely love the fly tying. Actually being able to build something in your hands that you're able to use for an actual purpose is a great connection. And these are just some of the students. This is one of our students, Constantine, last year. He's from Long Island, city kid. I mean, never saw like trees, basically. Just basically was a city dweller. And last semester was his first time in the class, took the class and just was amazed. And he caught his first trout on a fly that he tied in class. But he was just so ecstatic, so excited that as soon as he caught this fish, he went back home, got a fly rod outfit, and wherever is now, he's planning on fishing here probably the rest of his life. So we have sold Constantine on fly fishing. And I don't want to go into too far, but the other thing is about central Pennsylvania being so good. It's a base camp for the U.S. fly fishing team. Because we have the resources, it acts as an attraction to a number of things, including the United States Youth Fly Fishing Team. It was a team I coached for a number of years, and now it's in great hands with another gentleman. But we have some of our students that are at Penn State that are actual current members of the U.S. Fly Fishing Team. And the one kid on the left here is named Mike Kamara. It's a student who I've worked with for a number of years, but one of the top competitive anglers in the country. But he came to Penn State, obviously for the engineering and for the science degree, but fly fishing was definitely a heavy influence on his decision to come here to Penn State and be a member of the team. Pretty cool. And the other cool thing is it's not directly related to kinesiology, but there's such an avid, hardcore group of anglers. We call it the Penn State Fly Fishing Club. One of the former instructors, Greg Hoover, created this club, I think back in 1999, and it's run on student activities fees. But now I think they have well over 100 active members in that club from Penn State students that participate on weekend field trips. This is previous or prior to COVID, but it's a very active group of kids. And especially anytime you have students coming into the university that like to fish, that are a little bit shy, one of the first things I do to any student that just hasn't found their place on the university and they're interested in fishing, I immediately direct them to this kind of warm gathering group of folks. And so we have the Penn State Fly Fishing Club, which is a great resource for anyone, especially if you don't have equipment or tools and you're not taking the class. This is a great resource within the Penn State community that you can be part of and have access to knowledge and also equipment to fish some of the local waters. All right, that was kind of a garden hose of information, but you can tell I'm kind of stoked about this, and I'm excited about Penn State and some of the things that we've done in the past, but also some of the things that we're going to hopefully be doing later in the future. And that's after COVID, we can discuss this, but right now we're just kind of excited about what we're doing. And then once we get after this COVID hurdle, there are some things that we're trying to do to kind of build this fly fishing program even more into the Penn State community.
That's great. Thank you, George. And we have a ton of questions coming in, and we had a good bit of questions come in through the registration as well. And I think we're going to have a little conversation here and get through as many of those as we can today. Okay. So I'm going to be looking at some different screens here coming in, so don't let that bother you. But so we had questions come in through the registration from Tom, Deborah, Jennifer about those that are new to the sport. And What is the best streamside advice you can give to a novice fly fisherman or woman? And can you talk about introducing the sport to children?
Sure. I mean, as a father and even as an instructor for beginners, keeping it simple is to pick a lane. And what I mean by that, with fly fishing, there's fly casting, there's knots, and there's different approaches. Trying to do all of them at one time can be just completely overwhelming. Step it down. Just take your time. Rome wasn't built in a day. Same thing with the decent fly casting. But at first, work on basic casting, and there are a lot of fly shops that offer free casting lessons. So just work on the basics of your casting. Spend a week working on casting. Then you can work on your knots, because you do need to tie knots. You need to tie flies onto your line and leader. So spend time working on your knots. And then there are multiple approaches, with what we call fishing on the surface, called dry flies, and then fishing below the surface, we call wet flies and nymphs. But pick one of those that you want to work on, and then go based on the recommendations of the local fly shops or the resources. Pick one lane and then just work on that one aspect. And once you feel like you've achieved some of the fundamentals, go on to the next. It doesn't take a lot. Honestly, within like 1 or 2 weeks of just kind of prioritizing that and spending time with each of those little areas, you can get basically 80% of what you need to know in that short period of time, as long as it's structured and intentional when you practice.
That's great advice. And so you talk a lot about how your love of angling started when you were just a child and you had teachers throughout your life. And a lot of Penn Staters like Patricia want to know if you could tell us more about how the legend Joe Humphreys influenced your passion to fly fishing and your career.
Yeah, Joe was he's still kind of a hero and a mentor of mine. But one of the things I love about Joe is, he was a tough coach with me. They did a movie on him recently. They make him look like a sweet old man. But when I got to know Joe, he wasn't a sweet old man he was, a former wrestler, a former boxer. I mean, he was pretty straight laced. Uh, but what I love about Joe is that he is willing to give back. I mean, so many of the people I meet and travel across the country, Joe has, spent maybe an hour with them or taken an hour of his day on the phone or on the stream to actually work with them. And there's a lot to be said about that. I know as a student and right now being busy right now in my current career and having children, busy. But still, when I got to know Joe, Joe was at his peak and he still spent days with me on end working with me. So one of the things that taught me was just learning to give back. And that's one of the things Joe has done. And as a result, I try to do everything I can to give back everything that Joe and has, and it's just a nice continuing flow, continuing the tradition. So that's what Joe has taught me the most is just giving back, paying it forward, if you will.
That's great. And so if we stick with the subject of teaching and in particular, the introduction of new approaches, Elaine submitted a question that made me go do some Googling and figure out what it was, but she's asking specifically about Tenkara style fly fishing and was hoping that you could share sort of your impression of Tenkara style, whether or not you teach it. And if you maybe want to just explain it for some folks that may not know exactly what it is, and is it being taught at Penn State right now?
Sure. So Tenkara fishing, unlike traditional fly fishing where you have a rod reel and you have line going through the guides and you can lengthen or shorten the length of the line, Tenkara fishing is like old cane pole fishing where you basically have a long pole and you have a leader or a line that's attached to the tip of that rod. So it's a fixed line. You can't strip it in. It's just whatever length that's what Tenkara fishing is. It's a Japanese style of fishing that many of you probably grew up or your grandparents grew up fishing. I introduce it a little bit with our week. We have 15 weeks at Penn State when I do on the water. So we have a very short limited water time. But one of the things I do with Tenkara fishing, what is great about Tenkara fishing is when you break down the rod literally breaks down into like a 20-inch section. It's very simple to use. The casting is very easy. So it is one of the tools that I introduced to students during one of the classes saying, especially if you're backpacking, if you're hiking, a lot of times what this rod is, it's not the best tool, but it's an easy access that you can break down into a small area. If you're hiking in like West Yellowstone, if you're hiking in the Allegheny Mountains, if you're hiking in the Great Smoky Mountains, and if you're walking and the primary focus is hiking and like camping, but you're along a trout stream and you just want to spend just a couple minutes fishing, you can basically like whip out this rod and use it like a lightsaber, just whip it out real quick, have a line, and you can go fishing fairly fast. And believe it or not, a lot of the students end up buying these Tenkara rods and using them later on because a lot of them are avid outdoorsmen. So I talk about it, I introduce them to it. I just don't go into too great a detail because of our time constraints.
Yeah, understood. And so when I was mentioning that I had to friends and colleagues that I had the opportunity to host with you today, many of them, like Trisha mentioned in the chat here, reminisced about how they couldn't get into the course many years ago and how popular it was and has been for decades. And so her and Ron and others want to know about how they can access some of this coursework, whether it's through summer courses, online videos. Can you talk a little bit about that?
So yeah, I'm fairly new into the department. I'm only going into like year two, and with COVID, there's been definitely a disconnect between me and my superiors, and it's just been kind of a tough year. But one of the things that we're talking about once we get out of this COVID bubble is, trying to make some online opportunities for not just students, but maybe eventually like students or folks that can audit this, actually create like a lifelong sort of program for non-students, because right now, like you're saying, based on the demand, this class is only offered for students enrolled on main campus. But that is one of the things we would love to do is create some sort of program or like an archive, if you will, of a lot of this information that alumni can have access to later on down the road. But hopefully that's going to be down the road at some point, but definitely not within the immediate future right now, just based on timescales. But it's definitely uh, on our thoughts.
Understood. And so earlier you mentioned the abundance of fly fishing opportunities within the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. Can you just talk a little bit about how the fly fishing program has benefited from the landscape and natural resources throughout Pennsylvania?
Yeah, I mean, like say for example, like in Central PA, what makes our stream so good is, without getting too much into detail, is we have a karst geology, kind of like a limestone geology. So what that means is a lot of these streams throughout the state, when water falls as precipitation, it just falls and it just goes through the cracks and just regular rocks that really don't hold many minerals, or basically minerals that can provide good nutrients to the streams. Our streams have a limestone. If anyone is familiar with streams that have acid mine drainage or water quality issues, one of the first things that they'll do to those streams is add limestone, powder in there to kind of buffer out and create a better pH, more conducive to water quality and aquatic vegetation and insects. Our streams have a natural buffer. It's all limestone geology. So when water drops, percolates, it's basically this natural limestone percolator. So when the water comes back into our streams, it's super chilled, super cold, and it has incredible water quality. And because of that, we have really the best populations of fish and often some of the best hatches and insects in the eastern United States. So that stream and our waters in this area really are remarkable because of what they offer.
That's great. And so those keeping those natural resources in mind, Jim and others are asking about the threats to fly fishing, whether that is, we often hear of access to waterways, habitat loss, and invasive species in some other areas. And can you talk a little bit about any impact that you've experienced over the past couple of decades, whether that's through climate change or other influences like building of dams and other structures that you've seen some changes to the waterways and has impacted fly fishing in Pennsylvania?
So one of the probably the biggest threats that we have, like in our immediate area, is development. You can call it what it, but just people moving into the area. We have, when you go out west, like Colorado and a lot of these cities, in the past, were able to foresee the population boom. So they developed some dams, and you can call, for good, for better or worse, they developed dams that allowed them to collect water to provide water resources. Like all of New York City's waters are based in like some of these lakes in the northwest part or northeast part of Pennsylvania and parts of New York. In State College, we don't have that. We don't have that dam basic collecting water for us. What we have are aquifers. And every time a development comes in, they're pumping directly from that aquifer. So definitely one of our biggest threats here in this immediate area is actually overdevelopment. And, you can talk to a number of folks, but, talking to some hydrologists in the past, one of the things that they're concerned about is Spring Creek could be essentially a puddle in 20 to 30 years if we just keep tapping into this, because they don't know when the supply is going to run out. But when it does run out, there's nothing we're going to be able to do. So development is one of the biggest issues. Stormwater drainage, especially like right here, again, development. Before, when you talk about non-porous surfaces, anytime you put a development, whether concrete, hard surface, normally water is able to penetrate, percolate into the water, drop, and then come back out. Here, a lot of our water is not able to drop it just quickly runs off into the stormwater drainages. And you can look at the USGS water graph. Instead of having these nice little even flows, whenever we have a high water event, I mean, it's straight up and straight down. And you're flushing chemicals, gasoline, oil, all that slick that's on the roads and spill, that's going into the stream. And then also that drastic up and down movement in water flows, it's not good for the insects, because insects can be dislodged, it can displace them. And when you have an issue with insects, eventually it's going to go down the food chain and it's going to start affecting the trout. So definitely development from a number of water, and then also the the runoff are two major issues. And you can go down a laundry list of things, including access. And that's the other thing that we're starting to see is more and more anglers are on the water, and rightfully so. But people are starting to post their properties. Most anglers are respectful, but it only takes 1 or 2% of those folks to start throwing garbage and trespass. And once you start having those issues, a lot of our local landowners now are starting to post property. And that's where like resources like Spring Creek Trout Unlimited, our local Spring Creek chapter has been super proactive, very good on working on landowner relationships, acquiring easements, buying properties that will allow future access for years to come. So I hope, wherever you live, some of your folks are going to be more like the Spring Creek folks that are really super proactive and doing everything they can to ensure generations to come to enjoy this activity.
Yeah, great. And can you talk specifically, Randolph was asking specifically if we've seen any impact due to lantern flies that are in the area right now? Are you seeing that impact the fly fishing at all?
Yeah, that's definitely not my special. I mean, I've read there's a bunch of articles out there right now, but in this geographic area, I'm not seeing anything as it relates to, fishing and lantern patterns. But there are other, sections like in the Philadelphia area, up in the northeast part. Some of my students in the class, we were talking about this, have had like actually really good fishing opportunities with the lanterns. Lantern insects, but here we have not. I can't say from experience I've had any experience with them here in Central PA.
So John from the snowshoe area is asking what types of fish he should expect to encounter in local streams if he's just getting into this, and if that changes as you go across the state. So if I'm in Central PA, am I going to see different species than I'm going to see maybe up in the northeast section of PA?
So usually the species are going, so for the most part, we have two wild and native. So we have, fish that are self-sustained that have been here for years. The majority are either going to be brook or brown trout. Both brook and brown trout, they usually inhabit different territories, if you will. Typically, when you go up in the headwater streams, like the little mountain streams, it doesn't matter if it's Central PA, Northwest, Southwest, Northwest. The higher you go up on the drainage, you're more likely to encounter the native brook trout. When you go into larger, slightly warmer sections of water of that same drainage, you're going to be more likely to encounter the wild brown trout. So it's not really the area, it's basically where on the drainage that you are fishing that's going to dictate whether you run into brook trout high up or more of the brown trout kind of lower down. So those are our wild and stock fish, or wild and native fish. And then the Fish and Boat Commission does stock. We still have a lot of stockings, over 5,000 miles of water that we stock in the state. And most of those fish you catch are going to be rainbow trout. We don't have really great rainbow reproductions here in the state. So most of the rainbows you catch are going to be rainbow trout. So those are the three species that you're going to likely encounter.
Okay. And Mike's asking, you've mentioned Spring Creek quite a bit today. I think he's asking for your secret spot here, but and he recommends that you can throw out there for our team to take a peek at if they want to get out.
Yeah, I mean, like with the advent of Google Earth, Google, there's no secrets anymore. But focus on the big four. Spring Creek is really good, but where I live, it's on Big Fishing Creek. It's one of my favorite streams. So like our big four: Spring Creek, Big Fishing Creek, the Little J, and Penns Creek. And just within those four areas, if you're willing to do a little bit of walking, a little bit of research, there's more opportunities in those four just small bodies of water than you'll ever have in the rest of your life.
Yeah. And so earlier on, we were talking about your love of teaching. And you also mentioned COVID, right? Once we come out of this COVID, how the teaching's going to look different, get the students back on the streams. Talk to us about the importance of not just being on the stream, but what you take away from being on the stream, and not just from a fly fishing standpoint. What do you hope these students take away from your class and being out there?
That's a deep question, Tom. So, obviously, and we talked about this before, is just being a steward of the resource. So what I mean by that is, nature has done an amazing job of countering so much of what we have done from a human standpoint to kind of steer in a different direction. But one of the things I'm hoping that students do is, in order to find conservationists, stewards of the resource, you need to want to have some sort of skin in the game, if you will. So what my hope is for those students that understand and excited about fly fishing, that they take some role in their local community, their local resource opportunity, and actually become proactive, helping them out. Everything, and one of the things we do with our students is even if you're walking along the stream, if you see garbage, carry a garbage bag and just pick up, even if it's just a wrapper, but you know, try to leave the stream cleaner than what you came there. And there's nothing more upsetting to someone walking along a beautiful stream and then just seeing a beer can or a bottle or whatever it is, a rat. So clean things up. The other thing I'm hoping is what's really, really cool about this, fly fishing develops a sense of community. And one of the things I remember the students asking why they took fly fishing. There's a number of reasons, but one of the core reasons why a lot of our students take the class is because their father, their grandparents, whatever it was, their former family members have also fly fished. And what they're trying to do when they graduate is find some way to bond with them. So they actually want to learn fly fishing to reconnect with their family members. So, I mean, if you can create a great resource and actually strong communities, friends, and then also family members, I think those are two great things you can that I'm trying to accomplish, and other than just catching fish.
Yeah, that's great. And Peter is asking about it's great that we have this angling program at Penn State in higher education, but if you have any impressions or thoughts on introducing fishing at the high school level and what could possibly come of that.
It's great. I mean, I know local Spring Creek State College has had one, and my local high school, Lock Haven, which is now Keystone Central. Uh, they've also had it. Phillipsburg Osceola in our area has also had it. So really what it comes down to, I think it's a great opportunity. What you need is simply someone that's going to take kind of the bull by the horns, if you will. That's going to act as the advisor. And that's what it comes down to. Someone who just wants to, take on the responsibilities of creating this program. But the students I've seen that have come out of some of these high school fly fishing classes, it's fantastic. And a lot of these students, talking to some of these advisors, a lot of them go into the natural resources, go into fisheries and wildlife, just because of their experience with the classes on the high school level. So I think it's an amazing opportunity. And, my email is gmd149@psu.edu. But I'd be happy if anyone's interested to take this on to the next level. I can at least connect the dots with some of the people who I have known who have done very successful programs in their high school. So I'm happy to connect the two of you together.
Great, terrific. Thanks for that. And then Bill is asking a question here. We've talked about the waterways and the different species of fish, but he's asking if you focus at all on the ethical handling of fish, such as catch and release, keeping them wet, those sorts of things. Can you just speak to that a little bit?
No, absolutely. In the one video, one shot, you can see one of the kids kind of holding the fish out. So there is definitely some excitement, but we definitely talk about, there's a video we show, it's about catch and release. Just basically understand that fish live underwater, they breathe underwater. So taking them out of the water is no different than basically submerging your head underwater and just seeing how long you hold your breath. So that's one thing. And then the other thing is we just talked to them about the basics of fish. Fish have a slime protection. That slime protection protects them from parasites and diseases. So the idea about keeping fish wet, keeping them in the net, keeping them in the water as long as possible are definitely things that we talk about. And I do stress as best as I can without getting too preachy and getting too upset when students do take fish out of the water for a few seconds. So absolutely, we do try to cover those bases.
Yeah. And Benjamin's asking how to adapt to basically the adapting his Pennsylvania-based knowledge to more of what he may experience sort of in the Rocky Mountain rivers, which might be a little bit more aggressive from a fishing standpoint. Can you speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, so I mean, basically, it's definitely a little faster and furious. I mean, the principles that we talk about, the casting, the line control, are going to be the same. The only thing that's going to change is just slight modifications of your rig. And that is something that, you just have to let the conditions dictate. But, when you talk about nymphing, dry fly presentations, all that, it's all the same. You're just simply adapting your rigs. So normally out west, you're often fishing bigger flies, more weight for your subsurface presentations. But again, like you were saying, Tom, it's often faster and more furious, but it's just a slight modification, focusing on the principles.
Great. And so as we get closer to ending our session, I have one more quick round after this, but can you talk about your future expectations for the Penn State Angling Program? I know you said you're in year 2 here and still getting your feet wet a little bit, but just what your expectations are moving forward, what your plans are for the program.
Definitely, one of the things I would like to do is talk about developing kind of an archive and creating some more of a continuing education for folks that are not, actively enrolled at the university level. And then 2, we have talked about, working, without going into too great a detail, but actually working with other schools, maybe working with the School of Forestry, but actually, looking at how fly fishing can be incorporated into some of their classes, or how we can incorporate some of their concepts into ours, so there's a little bit more synergy between the 2 classes. I mean, even like in business, believe it or not, I mean, people like entrepreneurship. I mean, people are using fly fishing, developing the business. So you're going to need to understand how to market yourself, how to, promote your guide business and your operations, and how to go through all those steps. So there's a lot of things that we can talk about, but when everything's said and done, the big thing is starting to incorporate and work with other schools, if you will.
Yep. Those collaborative partnerships within the institution itself. So with the few minutes we have left, George, I hope you'd be willing to entertain us with a quick sort of speed round here of some questions that have come in, and some other, whether they were submitted earlier or today, that we can probably hit most of what was asked. So, favorite 3 public locations in PA to fish, what would they be?
So favorite 3 public locations would be the Narrows and Fishing Creek for trout. I'm a muskie and bass angler. I love muskie and bass. I would say kind of the west branch of the Susquehanna, where I live in around Lock Haven. And then where I grew up would be a third, and that's the headwaters of Kettle and Pine Creek up in Germany, up in Potter County. Those would be kind of my 3 favorite places to fish within the immediate area.
Great. And then how about the top 2 or 3 outside of PA?
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, saltwater, I definitely like the Bahamas. I love salt. I love shallow water salt fishing. I love just walking the flats, sight fishing, the big fish cruising in the water. The other one would probably be, I love New Zealand. New Zealand is just a beautiful country. It's one of the few places where you develop these preconceived notions about how the whole trip's going to play out, the scenery, everything. It's one of the few places that has basically hit every single mark, and I can't wait to go back to New Zealand. So those would be my 2 options.
Great. And you mentioned saltwater. Gordon did have a question about that. Do you teach I know it's tough to teach saltwater around here, but do you at least acknowledge it within the class, and how do you teach it?
Yeah, and as I explained to the students, that's a great thing, because when we talk about trout, usually we're talking about, like, without most of these people not really understand, there's 2 techniques, like nymphing and dry fly fishing. That's predominantly, when you talk about those, that is very focused on trout. What I explained to the students, there's a technique called streamer tactics, where you're basically imitating bait fish, you're casting and you're stripping them. So it's an active retrieve. And what I explained to the students is, most of you are never going to live around trout water where you graduate. So if you're going to learn one technique that's going to be transferable to all species around the globe, it would be streamer fishing. So I do talk a little bit about the casting and the applications. Again, not going into too great detail, but I definitely make the mark talking about the importance of non-trout tactics.
So what's the oldest piece of gear that you use?
To be honest with you, I'm not very nostalgic. Everything I use, I get rid of. All the stuff I used to compete with, it's gone. The one thing I will say is, I have an old Richardson chest fly box, a box that my mom, and it's the same box that Joe wears. So that's the only one piece of nostalgia I actually ever carry with me. Everything else is just kind of modern, so to speak.
So go that direction. What's your newest piece of gear that you're loving right now?
Believe it or not, well, that's a good question. It would probably be a new neck gaiter from one of my sponsors, but just sun protection. Just something that's really comfortable. Sun protection and sun, that type of clothing is never comfortable. But this new piece of gear is actually super comfortable and protects you from the sun. So I kind of dig that right now. The small things in life, as I say.
Good. Your favorite 3 flies for trout fishing?
Favorite three flies for trout fishing. It's what we call a Frenchie. It's just a variation of a pheasant tail. The other one would be, in Central PA, would be a Humphreys crest bug, which would be number 2. And then a streamer that I call a scalp snack. Those would be my 3.
Right. And then have you watched A River Runs Through It?
I do. I did. Yeah. Back in, yeah.
Are you more of a Paul or a Norman? You more serious or free and natural out
I'm
there?
kind of a Norman. I'm kind of a Norman. I don't get into trouble too much, which, Paul was a far better angler. So, I would like to keep Norman's mindset, but maintain Paul's skill sets, if you will. But that's something I'm working on.
Terrific. And then if you could leave us with one thing, number one piece of advice you want to leave these Penn Staters with today.
Again, I am here. I am excited to be part of this angling program. If any of you ever have any questions about the program, questions about the resources, anything, I'm always available. It may take a few days based on my travel, but I'm just here for the students and then also for many of the folks that have graduated from Penn State. So if you need anything, please let me know. I will do everything I can to take care of you and get any of the questions that you have answered. So thank you for the support. Thank you for attending this seminar or this webinar. And again, it's an honor to be part of this program.
And George, we want to thank you and thanks for letting us get you off the stream for a little while and with this group. And I also want to thank all of those who tuned in to join us today for today's virtual speaker session. And just as a reminder, we're going to be hosting additional speaker sessions in the coming weeks and months. And this programming is in addition to a wide array of other online networking and career programs that are available throughout the year. So you can view a full listing at alumni.psu.edu/events. Thank you again. And we are
Penn State.
There you go. Thanks, George. We appreciate it.
Thank you.